President Bola Tinubu reportedly met with Siminalayi-Fubara, the suspended governor of Rivers State, in London last week. That's according to Africa Report, which cited two unnamed aides to the president. It is not clear at whose instance the meeting held, but sources say Fubara is expected to play ball in order to smoothing his path back to office. Sources privy to the discussion said negotiations are ongoing with the possibility that Fubara's suspension may be lifted before the 6-month deadline. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, we switch gears to Kwara State and bring you news about security in that area. But after the break, stay with us. And you're welcome back. Earlier before the break, we told you that the suspended governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi-Fubara, reportedly met with President Bola Tinubu in London last week. Now, this is according to Africa Report, which cited two unnamed aides to the president as sources. Now, it's not clear at whose instance this meeting was held, but sources say Fubara is expected to play ball in order to smoothing his path back to office. Now, to give us a bit more insight into this discussion, we're joined by Jaye Gaskia. He joins us live from Abuja and is a public affairs analyst. Mr. Gaskia, thanks so much for joining us. Unprecedented, interesting times we're in. Chance of on your mandate we shall stand. Do we see that happening in Rivers State anytime soon with the governor?
Possibly. There's always been speculation, actually, when the intervention was made with respect to the declaration of the state of emergency. One of the potential way to look at that and to analyze that was that it was to give both parties to that crisis some form of to wield the big stick, while at the same time giving both parties a time to then actually seek a compromise. Because as at the time that the state of emergency was declared, if we look on from when the Supreme Court judgment on the state legislature was made, and then to the attempt to the serving the notice of impeachment to both the governor and the deputy, that would have created a crisis that would have actually necessitated, if they had succeeded, that would have necessitated an election in 90 days with the speaker being the acting governor. And given the contestation in the state, it's not likely that parts of the state would really would have accepted that. So it's against that background that even at that time it was clear to some that the declaration of the state of emergency was simply to wield the big stick and to say that, okay, look, we can actually resolve this problem by simply just getting rid of everybody. But that you have this time within which you should go and negotiate and reach some form of compromise. So that's my expectation, that's what is happening. And it seems like if this report of this meeting in London is true, then it's probably just in line with that. And so we might have a situation where after a compromise has been agreed, both parties are going to return, both the executive and the legislative arms are going to be restored, and then we're going to see some form of compromise in terms of how they work going forward.
And very worrying times we're seeing here, I must say. I don't know if it's worrying for you, because the suspended governor's Easter message to his constituents and to the residents of Rivers State was that, they need to, be in line and stay in line with and trust and support the President Tinubu's administration and his renewed hope agenda, which is a very switch from the tone that he normally would when it comes to addressing his constituents. And so it begs to ask the question about the wind of change that is happening in South-South. Just earlier, before you came on, we saw the breaking news of the predecessor of the governor of Delta State, that's Ifeanyi Okowa, who was a former running mate for Atiku Abubakar for the PDP during the general elections for 2023, and also the governor as well, Governor Sheriff Oborevwori, both now seeming to have switched gears from PDP and now to APC. This wind of change is blowing. What does it mean for the South-South? Are we seeing South-South is predominantly PDP, and we've also seen the tones and the language from the governor of Edo State, of Akwa Ibom State as well. What does this mean as well for the entirety of South and coming in 2027? Your take?
Okay, so if we look at what is happening in the South, I think also one, really, it's about the 2027 general elections, but it's also more about what is happening internally within the PDP, much more than the APC and the president. And I think that the alignments that we are seeing now, and particularly from people, from leading politicians from the APC in the southern part of the country, and we can extend this actually also into the southwest and the southeast, is that people are playing their arms and they are reacting against the potential for the PDP to once again field a northern candidate in 2027. And so this is a realignment along those regional lines that our politics have always been in terms of, so it's the turn of the South now. And it will look like it's a betrayal if we then allow this to happen again. Remember that it was this issue that actually led to the implosion of the PDP towards the 2023 general elections, and to the split in the party that allowed the emergence of a Wiki, for instance, and then as a disruptive influence within the PDP, for instance. And so this is just a continuation of that. And politicians being what they are simply realigning within that context.
And so it looks at, I mean, if you're saying that it realigns in our personal gains, that means there's so much, there's so many persons who's waiting for gains. If 2027 comes and goes, APC wins, we have all of this big wigs from other parties and other states who are in there waiting to get their own end of the bargain fulfilled. What then happens? Are we not going to get figures like El Rufai, for example, who now become dissatisfied and come out to speak about, the party and be saying that the structure was not what was promised in the beginning?
Absolutely, I mean that's going to happen. So because that's the case really with every realignment, you're going to find people who are not going to be covered by those realignments, who would feel like they are loose ends, and they would also have to mobilize. I think that what is more important really is on the part of the citizenry, that as politicians are making these realignments and so on and so forth, that citizens actually place a cost on these realignments in terms of, okay, so these politicians are doing this, they are going with their constituencies, but also for citizens and the electorates to begin to actually impose a cost in terms of what their own demands would be in terms of governance. Okay, so this is where you want to align with in order to win re-election, in order to do all of those things, but that's how does this pan out for us, and then and what are the issues around governance? And so I think that it's about time that the electorate also enter into this conversation and begin to make their own demands. And so that's why I also think that we're going to see quite a number of those chants, as you said earlier, in terms of people just trying to also be on the table and be part of have their issues part of the agenda, because otherwise these are just politicians who are simply trying to ensure that their own personal and individual interests are covered at the end of the day, regardless of whether they are positively covered right now or they are left on the outskirts. It's simply people are just looking out for their own interests.
At the end of it, like you said, it all falls down to electorate, but most importantly, it also falls down to the umpire as well, to make sure that that the people's will is expressed at the polls, and there's transparency and accountability for all parties involved, especially the electorate. I must say thank you, Mr. Jaye Gaskia, for just taking out the time to give us a bit of insight. Very insightful. I must appreciate you again, Mr. Jaye Gaskia. He's a public affairs analyst, joined us from the capital, Abuja.